Oh yeah, so yep, here we go, because we're going to start the show tonight, and I'm going to tell you a story about a man named Bob. And the thing about Bob is that Bob was a longtime smoker. Bob started out smoking cigarettes when Bob was only a child, because Bob was born in the 50s, man, and in that day and age, you know, cigarette advertising was on television, and it wasn't really a big deal. So at the tender age of 14, Bob started smoking cigarettes. And as time went on and Bob became an adult, he had two beautiful daughters. And he watched those daughters grow up, and he was still a smoker. And those daughters made it through high school. Bob continued to smoke. His smoking habit differed, because some days Bob would only smoke a pack a day, and some days Bob would smoke 2 packs in a day. It really kind of depended on, you know, what was going on that day. Sometimes he'd be, you know, having a couple extra adult beverages, and he'd smoke a little extra. And sometimes the whole weekend he would have adult beverages, so he'd smoke extra. You know, that's how smoking works. And so while Bob was in his early 60s, he was diagnosed with cancer from all of that smoking. And Bob, at that stage of his life, his daughters had both grown up. They've gone to college at this point. Bob had been dating a wonderful woman who had now become his second wife. And as Bob laid in his bed dying of cancer, hooked to an oxygen machine, Bob continued to smoke cigarettes. And inevitably, as I'm sure everybody here has already figured out, the cancer took Bob. Bob was my stepdad. That's why we fight.
Amen to that, man.
What I watched Bob go through, nobody should ever watch. That's why we fight.
Amen to that, brother.
And welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to another episode of What's in the News with the Angry Hippie and myself, of course. And of course, we got a very special guest here today, which we're gonna bring up why he is here in just a little bit.
I don't know exactly how special I am, but I appreciate it, Corey.
As you can tell, things are... I don't know if you can tell the vibe of what's going on here and not right now, but it's a little different. I'm trying to put it into words. The one word I can fully feel and possibly sum up to what I feel right now is defeated. Even though I'm going to continue to... We all are going to continue to keep fighting, but in a situation like today and yesterday, you can't seem... It's difficult not to feel a little bit of anger, of disappointment, and it's a lot of emotions that kind of run through your body at one time, to where you kind of don't know how to put in perspective what the hell is actually going on. So that's what we're going to try to figure out today. A lot of things have happened these past 2 days. We've talked about it last week, and we kind of brought up what we thought about what was going to happen. But yesterday and today, we actually saw those actions, those threats, promises, whatever you want to fucking call them, put into actual legislation and put into actually being out there in legal form now. So right now we are talking about the 2 flavor bans that have happened in 2 states in the past 2 days. Yesterday, New York pretty much said you have 30 days. Any shop has 30 days. 90 days. Was it 90 or 30?
As far as the sell-off period?
Yeah.
Once the official rules are written and in place and official, which we're still actually waiting on, retailers will have 14 days to comply.
14 days.
And I believe that's the same for Michigan as well. And that was signed into law today, as I understand. So
yeah, basically because Governor Whitmer wanted to beat Governor Cuomo. You know, Governor Whitmer, Michigan was the first to announce it and propose it fully, and then they backtracked basically because Governor Whitmer kind of misstepped and said that she was including any and all flavored alternative nicotine products. That included Nicorette gums and things like that. So they had to backpedal because, you know, obviously they don't want to take those off the market. And then so they were kind of rewriting and revising things. And then when Governor Cuomo came out and pushed for it as well, Governor Whitmer kind of, you know, kicked everybody in the ass, and they finalized it and they pushed it through because she wants to be first. You know, it's a rat race is all it is.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a giant dick waving contest in politics, and
the woman won.
She definitely tried to pull the bigger dick today.
And she did.
So
she's officially the biggest dick, followed very closely by Andrew Cuomo.
I don't want to say there's 2 states that have been, it's hard to me to actually say this because technically what I really want to say is 2 states were officially lost in vaping today, but obviously that's not the case, because as long as there's people still fighting for the industry, the fight will never be lost. So
and vapor products are not gone as a whole. They're not gone as a whole. We still have products on the market. We still have opportunities. We still have tools to fight back with. We can, trust me, I was there. I was in Rochester yesterday. I sat in that room. I listened to testimonies from countless people across New York firsthand. I watched the way firsthand that our public health officials treated people, and the respect that was not given to anyone.
I want you to elaborate on that in case
we're going to start into our first actual
I
why
expect
Logan's
a lot
here,
of these people here are on Twitter. They've probably followed you and us as well. But in case you're not following Logan, please, I want you to really explain the lack of respect you guys were given.
No, I want to pretty much explain what you did yesterday to everybody. If people didn't see you on Twitter or anything, explain to everybody what happened yesterday with you.
So I woke up yesterday morning and I checked my email, and I saw that there was an email from CASA, and it said, meeting today, 2:30. These are the locations. I took about 15 minutes, and I was like, fuck. Like, I got to work. I have a job. That's why they do this. That's why they spring this on people at 2:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. So obviously I did what, any responsible American would do, and I called into work. I called off work. Called off. I sat down. I started writing. I wrote up an entire script. I knew from speaking to the lady on the phone, because I called to make sure that my name got in the list of speakers. And I had a whole 3-minute script written, rehearsed. I rehearsed all morning. I went live on Twitter. I talked to some people for a while. I went out and I bought a nice shirt, and I headed out to Rochester. News crews were outside. They talked to a few people. I got to shake the hands of Dave from New York Vapor Association. He's an amazing individual. I got to meet Ken from Bad Drip Labs. They're right out here in Rochester. They're one of New York's largest e-liquid manufacturers. I met a couple of guys from ZFO and a few other shops that were up there, all amazing people, just absolutely phenomenal people. And we went in, we sat down, we signed in. They handed us some sheets. I have the official stuff from New York as far as what the actual legislation looks like. I just don't know where it is right now. It's probably in the other room. We sat down, and they got all the video stuff hooked up, because this was a video conference, because they had 4 locations at the same time. There was Albany, Buffalo, Rochester, and New York City. We basically once it all got started, they kind of laid out the rules, and they blatantly told us, look, you have 3 minutes to speak, and if what you have to say is the same thing as what the last person had to say, we kindly would ask that you don't. They repeatedly told us to not be redundant. They originally told us that we would all have 3 minutes to speak, but because so many people showed up to all of these hearings, that as the meetings went on, they went down to 2 minutes. And then at the end, they only gave people a minute to speak. They were asking people to line up because they didn't want to wait for people to get up and sit back down. They wanted people in a line. They wanted to get you through. Get them through the line. Get up, say your shit, leave. That's what they wanted. And the entire time, you've seen videos. There's videos online. There's videos on Twitter. They just sat and looked at their phones. They tweeted, played games. Guy was just sitting back like this. Just blatant disrespect. We are the public of public health. That's us. They work for us. We pay taxes that pay their salaries. Your state's Department of Health runs on your state's tax dollars. That's from you. They can't even look you in the eye. They can't sit there and even pretend to show any respect to anybody for 2 hours. It's a blatant disregard for all of us.
What was the vibe when you walked into that room with everybody there and saw
when
the
we
officials
first got
sitting there?
Dave gave a little bit of kind of a pep rally to everybody outside. So there was doubt and like little sprinklings of hope, I suppose. I don't have a better word for that, but and it might have just been listening to Dave. It might have just been seeing people there. It might have been part of being in the crowd. But everybody was, once we got into that room, it got really somber. It got real quiet. That energy got real. You know what I mean? And it's very different because I've watched a number of these meetings and these hearings online, and it's one thing to watch it from a computer screen, and it's a whole other thing to actually be there. And the mood got real quiet, and it was just right out of the gate. You could just tell they didn't care. They literally told us to make this as quick as possible.
Were there any antis there? Were there any anti-groups
there were a few. There weren't any at ours. I believe they were either in the city or in Albany. There was a lady from Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids.
Yeah, she was in New York City, I think.
I think that was in the city. I think there was someone from the Lung Association, the American Lung Association. There was another lady there, and I can't remember her name, and I don't remember where she was from, but she was, she was anti. She was all about just garbage. So it was.
Save the kids. Save the kids.
I think there might have been a fourth person, but there were definitely at least three, and then everybody else was shop owners, and the majority of them were shop owners and employees. I was maybe one of 3-4 consumers that went.
So as the vibe kind of was right off the bat, it was kind of dim. It was kind of somber. I would say it was weird. I bet it was just kind of like people went into there.
You have a mix in that room and in all those rooms of people with different stories and people with different emotions. You've got the guys. We had a guy who was real fired up. I mean, not quite as fired up as Matt Elliott, but he was pretty fired up, and he really put it to him. And then you have people up there who are basically in tears, telling their stories, talking about their families and their jobs, and you just have this mix, and it's just shitty. You know, I went near the end. I went up when they decided that we only had a minute left to speak. I was one of the last people to go up. And at that point, I just threw my script out, you know. Like, they were long done listening. They didn't care. It didn't matter that I could have rattled off all those same facts that 3/4 of those people rattled off. I could have given statistics. I could have debunked whatever. It didn't matter.
It's watching some of those meetings. I was severely pissed off. Exactly like what you were saying. The lack of interest from those officials was dumbfounding. It was literally like I was appalled on how an actual government official who's not elected, by the way.
Not just vapors. Every person in America should be appalled.
That these are government officials not giving a shit about anything the public wants. The public is looking out for their own health by trying to save an industry that obviously is there to save public health. And they give two fucking shits about it. They there because they were told, show up here at this time. Otherwise, you're not getting paid, probably.
Yeah, like, sorry, it's logistics. You gotta show up by law or whatever. You gotta be there. You gotta go sit in this chair. So just go fiddle on your phone for 2 or 3 hours. Let all these nicotine addicts cry, and then you get to go home and put on your comfy slippers and
the $500 pair of slippers, and
you go home to your Chardonnay and your fucking whipped cream vodka and your nice comfy slippers and feel
good because you did something for the kids.
Yeah, that's that's what it was.
And love him or hate him, and I always preface something when I'm about to bring up Matt Elliott with that. Love him or hate him.
I have so much respect for that guy.
When he quoted that line from Hitler, it's not wrong.
I felt the exact emotion. The moment I heard that for the first time, I felt the exact emotion that he was emitting the moment he said that quote.
I mean, this literally feels like they're using children as a political shield in order to further.
John, we're so far past it feels that way.
Well, and
it felt that way a year and a half ago.
You're right.
It is that way.
You're right.
It 100% is that way.
But that's the thing is that it feels at this point that the corruption is so out there and nobody cares.
That's the problem.
Like,
I mean, go ask anybody on the street. Do you trust your elected government officials, or do you think that they're all corrupt? Most people will tell you, yeah, they're corrupt. They're government officials.
But half of them won't get out their fucking ass and do anything about it.
And they keep walking down the street. Yeah.
They know their government officials are corrupt, and they just fucking turn the blind eye.
And they just take it.
Like, I don't fucking understand it. How are people so easy to just not give a fucking shit about what is going on around them? This is so much bigger than what vaping is doing right now.
It doesn't affect them, Corey. It's out of their purview. It doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect their life directly.
Right. And that's it kind of leads back to what Logan was saying. Like, it's just a bunch of nicotine addicts. That's how we're viewed. We're just a bunch of nicotine addicts. I mean, if we were to flip this whole thing around and they're just a bunch of caffeine addicts, well, holy shit, the whole world would be in an uproar. Because wait a minute, caffeine addicts, I drink my coffee every day. Does that mean
dude, America runs on Dunkin'. Come on.
Right. But a bunch of fucking nicotine addicts. Well, wait a minute. Aren't these nicotine addicts trying to better themselves? Aren't they?
No, that question doesn't
die? Oh, wait, so what?
We have decades. Decades. We have a century. No, I guess not a century. We have half a century of nicotine as this idea that you only associate it with tobacco and death. It's so hard for people to tear that seam of nicotine and tobacco apart.
Mm-hmm.
They can't separate that idea because you have decades of it being drilled into people's heads mean, it's literally reefer madness. We can put all the science out there and tell somebody, yes, cannabis products help people. But a lot of those generations that bought into reefer madness right from the get-go, that lived through decades and decades and decades of being told and told and told and told and told, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, you're not going to change their minds.
You're right. And
we can't rely on a generation that has sold themselves to these lies. We have to rely on the next generation. We have to educate down. And unfortunately, what we're going through is what cannabis has gone through. You know what? And it's one of those things where if you talk to a cannabis advocate, they're like, dude, what are you talking about? We've been doing this for 80 years. Welcome to the fight, man. Like, this is nothing new. You guys are getting started.
I just said it the other night. This book right here chronicles about 60 years of the prohibition of cannabis. Okay? You see how thick this book is, how much text they're able to give you.
Yeah. And there are still people that think truly in their heart that that's the devil's lettuce. That if you smoke weed, you're going to end up a heroin addict dead on the street.
Mm-hmm.
There are people that still believe that.
That's what we're combating now.
Sat in front of an entire class of university students. He posted it to his Twitter page. Sorry, my cats are fighting.
Awesome. That was the best noise I've heard in the background in a long time.
I mean, he sat in front of this entire university, this whole class, and talked and told them that if you use cannabis, that you are more likely to go on and use harder drugs.
Thank you to the cats for lightening the mood for a minute.
Yeah, leave it to Frank. He's a dick. But yeah, I mean, it's mind-blowing. Like, how many more studies do you need to disprove gateway theory? Because we only have about 2,000 of them right now.
I mean, gateway.
At what point are you like, okay, well, if we get 7,000 studies, maybe we'll consider it.
It's utterly insane.
It's
the idea, and a lot of people struggle with correlation and causation. Okay, and that's where all this comes down to. And I'm going to make it really easy for anybody out there that still doesn't understand the difference between correlation and causation. Causation is one thing directly causes another. Okay? Correlation is this thing and this thing are similar, and one might lead to another one, but it's not guaranteed. Like, it's called common liability. And is what a lot of correlation relies on. And common liability is basically the idea that if a youth, if a young person, a teenager or whatever, engages in risky behaviors such as smoking cigarettes, that there's a good chance that they will also engage in other risky behaviors, such as skateboarding without a helmet, smoking cannabis.
So does that mean that skateboarding leads to smoking weed? No.
Stealing candy bars from the local grocery store. That's correlation. It's common liability. It's an individual who had already decided to engage in risky behavior may engage in other risky behavior.
So are you saying that in this situation they are guilty by association?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but it sounds nice.
Because I mean, ultimately, that's I think that's the cleanest way I can wrap.
But they go on this idea of correlation and common liability to justify claims like youth who vape are 4 times more likely to smoke. That's been disproven. There's no causation. There's nothing to say that any youth or any human being of any age who picks up a vaporizer is going to go on to be a lifelong smoker. There's not one scientific study in existence that proves that without a shadow of a doubt. Because it's not a thing.
On to
I like Anthony Ramallah. He says listening to rap leads to.
Yeah.
Going off of what's happened these past 2 days, kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on Governor Cuomo's actual speech he did. Because that is the big talk.
Well, yeah, because it's an easy hashtag.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's...
And it's an obvious blatant disregard. It's something, it's a soundbite that we can use against him. And I get why everybody wants to hop on the so what bandwagon. I get it. But, I mean, let's be honest, like, politicians say so what to so many things. Maybe not so blatantly to a camera, but in so many other ways. And nobody gets in an uproar about it. And it's like, once we got that one soundbite, everybody hopped on. And I think that we cling to these little things like that instead of focusing on such a bigger thing.
For me, people clinging on to that kind of thing kind of gives people a reason to continue to fight. Because people will find something that will...
I mean, I get it.
Will light that fire in them, something that possibly that extreme could light that flame in them to get them out their ass and, okay, I'm actually do something now. I can't stand because this was said on TV. I'm not going to fucking stand for this. I'm hoping that with that being said, this will get more people even fired up, get more people pissed off, because that's what people need to be right now. They need to be pissed off.
Absolutely.
Because this isn't something that you should be... I mean, it's okay to feel upset. It's okay to feel down about this, because there's a lot more people in the same shoes as you right now, as feeling pretty much they want to give up. But then you look at something what Cuomo said yesterday, and you can't give up. That just gives me more reason why we can't stop this, because we can't allow this thing to continue.
I think what I mean is like the memes or the so whats or all these tweets that are just like, oh, so what, and this big like hashtag so what thing. That's not doing us any good. If you want to share the video, if you want to share that with people, absolutely. But this goes back to like when people were memeing tomatoes and eggplants and potatoes about nicotine. That doesn't do us much good. It just doesn't. I mean, that's the reality of the situation, is it just doesn't do us much good. What we need to be doing right now, especially in New York, keep on calling, keep on writing, keep doing all those things. Don't stop those. Go ahead, petition if you want to. It's fine. Just please don't stop at petitions. But get a hold of your representatives who if your representative, especially if your representative is a Republican, and I hate to say that, I really hate to say it, get a hold of them. Reach out to your state's vapor associations. Get a hold of CASA. Join CASA. Get a hold of advocacy groups. That's where you should be focusing what you should be doing. You shouldn't be focusing on sharing memes. You shouldn't be focusing on things like that. You'll get a little bit, you'll share it around the community, and it's cool, and everybody in the bubble will get it, and they'll share it to everybody in the bubble, and that's where it's going to stay. So get fired up about that video. Absolutely. It's a blatant disregard to our rights. Be mad. I'm mad. Everybody should be mad. I'm here in New York. I watched it fucking happen. I'm mad. I get it. But I'm not going to waste my time on memes and trying to crack jokes and crack so what jokes on Twitter and on Instagram, because it just doesn't do us any good. Right? It's not time for memes. It's not time for jokes.
It's time to stand up for what's right.
Right. It's time to get up and show up.
There's no excuse now. There isn't.
You know, And I talked to somebody the other day about, well, like I had to drive 45 minutes to go to Rochester, which I know isn't much. Some people have had to drive longer. I totally get that. But I kept hearing all these excuses from people. I had to work. It's an hour and a half away.
When this thing happens in Illinois, I'm driving the 2+ almost 3 hours to Springfield. Without a doubt.
And I talk to people who I see regularly advocate on a day-to-day basis, but then you couldn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
I took a $170 pay cut yesterday. It came out of my check. That's what I missed, calling off of work. Almost $200 that I need for my family and my house and my bills to pay my bills to feed my kids. I took that cut, drove almost an hour, and I showed up.
Because people don't
I
want
talked about this last week on the podcast. I'm so sick of excuses.
Because that's all we get.
I'm so sick of people that want to get online and they want to be an advocate and they want to talk the talk and they want to be part of the movement, but when it comes time to actually show the fuck up, they can't do it. There's just an excuse to do it. And I'm so sick of the excuses. That's what I'm sick of.
It's true.
You know what I mean? I dare you to walk into a hospital go see somebody who's suffering from COPD. Go see somebody in the lung cancer ward right now and tell them that you couldn't show up because you didn't want to drive the 45 minutes.
I've had 3 people in my family die of smoking-related illness.
Yeah, you go look Corey in the eyes and you tell him that you couldn't take the day to go fight for people's rights.
It's nuts, guys. Like,
that's what I'm sick of.
My grandmother smoked for over 60 years.
I'm sick of the memes. I'm sick of the trying to make cutie light things about all this. And I'm sick of the excuses. It's time to put up or shut up.
He's right. I mean, I was an army of one. An army of fucking one. That's it. I made an impact because I knew what the fuck I was talking about. But at the end of the day, there should have been at least 30, 40, 50 people behind me ready to talk about what I was there to talk about. Nobody in my town came out. And I think this is a product of our being pacified. We don't, as a society, I don't mean we as in those of us here today because we're here today because we care. But as a society, we don't care. We just want to go to work, come home, kick our feet up, watch our favorite TV show, and go to bed and repeat this whole process over. A lot of people are happy being a cog in the machine. And at this point in time, the machine is not moving in the right direction, and we need to be those cogs that shift those gears. We need to be the ones who actually stand up. That's how this system works. And at this point, they're taking advantage of the fact that people are pacified. They know that most people don't care. And, you know, as shitty as it was, could you imagine how much more affected they would have been if they couldn't have gotten that meeting over for 6 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours because that many people showed up?
Well, they said they would be concluding at 5 o'clock regardless.
Cute, of course.
They would have just turned people away.
Because, you know, our civic duty doesn't fucking matter to them.
Yeah, we were blatantly told that. The lady from Campaign from Tobacco Free Kids, this is one of the things that really stuck with me and really got under my skin. The lady from Campaign from Tobacco Free Kids got up there and just was like, you know, you guys, you're the public health that has been helping our youth stop smoking. You're the people that we should be thanking. You're the people that we should be commending. And just literally, I mean, got down on her hands and knees for these people. just bowed right down to them, because that's what they do. That's what they do.
They're there to continue to get funding from the MSAs.
Yeah. And they'll say and do whatever and act as cowardly and as shameless as possible, and just...
They'll walk in there, they'll leave their dignity at the door.
Absolutely.
And they will go in there and tell the officials exactly, I mean to the T, exactly what they want to hear. It's something that, how can somebody sleep at night knowing that this is something that we were all raised with, to have dignity, to have pride into something that matters, not to give in to the greed. This is something that should have been embedded into your brain at birth. And people will go out there and just walk in there with their tail between their legs and just let the fucking bullshit fly. And
cowards.
It's
cowards.
All right, so that being said,
I kind of want to touch on something else too, because there's a little thing that, before we get into what you want to talk about, Sean, did you guys see on Twitter this little study that is in the works, where Scott Gottlieb was saying they're looking into what kind of devices these people the kids were actually using, to see if they were closed-based systems or open-based systems?
Scott Gottlieb's been on a big kick about open and closed systems for months.
But
unfortunately,
that's
now I have to have sneaky people on Twitter that Scott Gottlieb hasn't blocked, because he's blocked me, to let me know what he's talking about and what he's saying, because I can't see his tweets anymore.
But that's the thing, right? Is that, like, we've had those studies done. We know what they used. I mean, I just posted a picture on Twitter and Instagram. I'll show you all right here. Ready? Bang. You guys remember these? These old school cartomizers we used fucking 10 years ago? This is what these kids are using. I live in a legal state. This is a legally purchased cannabis cartridge. I know that this cartridge is safe because I had test results to show that it was safe. These kids are buying products like this. Here it is. An actual Dank Vapes fucking package that I managed to find just on the ground in my neighborhood, because that's what people do when you're in the illicit drug market. You don't have any respect. This is a simple package.
Thank you, Connie.
It's available for anyone to buy. You, me, Poonsauce, Logan, anybody in the chat, we can go buy that packaging right now. Piss in a bunch of cartridges. Load them in that and sell them to people.
You could. Absolutely.
And people will fucking spend $30-$40 for it.
And that's the thing. We already know. The studies have been done. Departments of health in various states have already come out and said it's...
Even New York. New York was one of the first departments of health to comment about it.
New York was ready to go after the manufacturers of the cutting agents these people are using.
Three companies got subpoenaed.
Which, mind you, those products are not labeled for the use they're being used for. This is the actions of shady people doing shady shit.
And there's somebody to thank for a lot of that coverage, and that's Leafly. You want to give somebody credit. Leafly has done an amazing job. The cannabis industry as a whole knows how to self-regulate to survive.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing this a long time. And the cannabis industry is very quick and very good at calling out bad actors.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what they've done. Leafly was already naming names weeks before any of these elected officials and government agencies had names, had ideas of what was going on. They just knew these people have lipid pneumonia and we can't figure out why. And Leafly was like, oh, well, we got the answer right here. It's people putting these additives in here because they want to be shady.
Oh, yeah, and they mysteriously, like, these companies just kind of quietly removed products from their website. Honeycut, Uber Thick, these products that were thickening, cutting agents. and they just quietly took them from their sites, and they were like, well, maybe nobody will notice.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, people noticed.
Really? You think in a federally illegal market,
And here's the
there are
thing.
people that are constantly watching every move that's being made?
Well, here's the thing, is like those products, again, they were being used in a way they were not manufactured for. Those products were meant for things like topical agents. So,
Right, absolutely.
fantastic. You want to make a CBD topical or a full spectrum cannabis topical. So that,
Vitamin E acetate is fine.
right.
It's
You
topical.
can rub that on your skin, and it's a wonderful thing, and the vitamin E is fine. It's never meant to be ingested in a vapor form. So now you've got shady drug dealers cutting a product in order to increase product and to mislead their consumers into believing that their product is of a pure quality by A, cutting it with a product that does not dilute it but continues to maintain its thickness, and B, packaging it in a product that claims it's 100% safe and organic when in fact it's not. What you have is literally the equivalent of heroin dealers putting fentanyl in their dope to get more people fucked up fast. You have the equivalent of people putting fucking vitamin B in cocaine in order to get people fucked up and cut and spread the profits out. This is an example of what illicit black markets do.
Yeah.
Plain.
It's just a product of prohibition.
And
That's all it is.
And meanwhile, what is the cannabis industry saying? Well, if you would legalize our industry nationwide, none of this would be a fucking issue because we'd be able to drive prices down, make it so people have access nationwide, and nobody would have any reason to try to make money on a black market for weed. They'd have to either do hard drugs or, hey, shit, what a concept. Become a fucking valid member of society and fucking contribute by getting a real job.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only one way to combat a black market, and that's to legalize and regulate fairly.
Absolutely.
Because look at states like California and Colorado that have recreational legal cannabis, there's still a thriving black market there, and that's because of taxation and high pricing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your better off citizens and law-abiding citizens who can afford to legally go purchase from a dispensary will do so. They will. But just because you've made it legal doesn't mean there won't be people that come in illicitly that offer the product at a lower price.
Mm-hmm.
That's a black market. Untaxed, unregulated. That's a black market. Jim Bob down the road is the black market.
You guys all remember the shady guy in high school? Always kind of really sketchy. He's like, hey, man, what you need?
That's the black market.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah. That's the fucking dude who never grew the fuck up in his dirty kitchen, still making this fucking dirty THC oil and trying to maximize his profits. And he's profiting off the backs of an entire industry while meanwhile damning a whole fuckload of honest people because of a hysteria. That is and that's the worst part, right? Is that they're using it as the straw that broke the camel's back. It's 7 deaths nationwide, but it's really also the kids and they're addicted, and we got to save the kids from this nicotine addiction.
Right. God forbid they're addicted to a harm reduction tool.
God forbid we actually looked at the numbers correctly and didn't conflate that shit so that we actually understood that all of maybe 6% of kids were active users. The same fucking 6% who otherwise would have been smoking cigarettes, because back to that notion of risk and correlation, they are the same kids who are already at-risk youth to do defiant things.
Yeah.
I was one of those youth. That's why I can speak to it so seriously. You know, what do you know? I wanted to be a fucking rebel, and I rebelled. And now I'm a guy who's championing against the rebellion of teens. Fuck, I did get old, didn't I? Shit. Don't trust
Yeah,
anyone.
I'm literally the guy outside now, like yelling at kids to get off my lawn because they're just gonna fuck it up. I have that mentality with everything now. I'm just like,
I might look cool with my dreadlocks and my bandana, but I'm an angry old man. Get off of my lawn. You kids don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Everything was better in my day.
yeah, absolutely.
Sean, what was that thing you wanted to mention before I mentioned the Scott Gottlieb thing?
What I was going to get to is from your perspective, Logan, where you sit now, experiencing what you're experiencing. What advice do you have to everybody else? Because I mean, you were staring down the barrel of a gun. They've now pulled the trigger. Like,
I mean, go for one. Don't make an excuse. Get off your ass and go. Because the best thing that we can do, whether the public health department cares whether or not you show up, whether they care whether or not you give a story, the amount of people that show up is on video. That's logged. The public can see that. People driving by the New York Departments of Health yesterday saw the protests. They saw the numbers of people that showed up. If you want to make change, you have to change the public's eye. We have to get people in favor of what we're doing.
whoa,
We have to let people know that what our government is doing is wrong, that it's unconstitutional, that we're stripping the rights from law-abiding, legal adults. People need to understand that. They need to see that we're angry. They need to see that we're passionate about this industry. You have to show up.
Logan, your voice kind of went all...
Yeah, your audio went really wonky for a second.
Did I go robot?
No,
it's
you
not
sound
robot,
like you're on
it's
the
just
other
like-
side of the room now. But while he's trying to figure that out, nope. To piggyback on that real quick, he's right. When 10 people show up with signs, it's easy to ignore. When 25 people show up with signs, it's still kind of easy to ignore. When 100 people show up, it starts to look a little crowded. When 1,000 people show up, it's hard to ignore it.
When 1,000 people show up, you're shutting down streets.
When a couple thousand people show up, now you're making a ruckus.
You're shutting down city blocks.
You're literally making it known that many people care enough to come out and speak out against something. And that's what they see. Nah, it's still doing it to you.
It was weird. It like happened out of nowhere. You were perfectly fine this whole time, and suddenly you just like... Yeah, you can go. That's fine.
All right, I'm gonna leave and come back, and I'm gonna see.
All right, let's see what happened. But yeah, it's one of those things when enough people show up in numbers, you know, I know a lot of people don't do public speaking, and I totally get that. But if you've got 50 people who are inside doing the public speaking and another 100 outside holding signs in support, it's hard to ignore.
Do I still sound like I'm in a fishbowl?
Hey,
you're good now.
All right. Yeah, so show up. That's the biggest thing because the public sees it. Go in, give your stories. You know, maybe your state won't be as just full of shit as mine, but go show up.
I mean, we saw signs of hope from representatives these past 2 days.
Yeah, there are people, and there's a guy right now.
In Michigan,
I just got done talking about it on Twitter. Bo.
He's a representative in Michigan.
Yeah, he's fighting back. He's got a bill. It's HB 4996, and it's a bill basically to counter Governor Whitmer's emergency ban, and also to introduce legislation to prevent the federal government from banning. So get on board with that. Otherwise, keep doing what we're doing. Don't stop doing what we're doing. What we're doing is working.
Yes.
It's not work. It's not like an overnight thing. We're not going to get instant satisfaction and instant gratification from making a phone call. We have to keep it up.
Yep.
Do you know one thing out of this entire week?
Get on CASA and show up. It's just absolutely one of the best things that you can do, is just to show up.
Showing up, you're already making a difference.
Yeah. I mean, as far as if you're in New York, once this goes into effect, we're probably looking at, from like right now, probably 3 to 4 weeks total until it gets enforced. As it stands, unflavored tobacco and menthol are still on the market. There cannot be any other characterizing flavors. I don't know about a tobacco menthol. I'm assuming that would be fine because it's 2 flavors that are legally allowed, and a menthol cigarette is technically menthol and tobacco. So I'm sure that'll be okay. I know that the state right now is looking into flavor shots and short fills, just because unflavored is still legally allowed to be sold. And the bill and the emergency ban is on the final product. I was there when they talked about possession, because the word possession is in this bill, but that's a direct reflection towards like retailers. If retailers are in possession, not consumers. Here in New York State, it's not like Michigan. If you're a consumer, if you're just you or me or anybody else, you can have flavored e-liquid on your person. There's nothing against that right now.
Was on the one that was in Michigan that was put through, is there still on there to where it's illegal to possess?
Yes, 4 or more. So you have to have 3 or less. People hear 4 or more and they think they can carry 4. No, that means if you have 4 or more containers of e-liquid, flavored e-liquid, and containers they haven't defined.
Right. So
I made the argument is, could I have 3 5-gallon drums of flavored e-liquid? As of right now, technically, yes.
Mm-hmm. But an unopened pack of Juul pods, you could face 6 months in jail.
That's the reason they did 4 or more containers, is to combat Juul, because they're sold in 4-packs. It's the entire reason that part of the legislation is on there. So, like, Juul won't be able to sell 4-packs of their pods in Michigan.
But they're 2-packs, which they've been selling for a long time already.
Perfectly fine.
Yeah. They just won't be able to sell the 4-packs. And you won't be able to buy 2 2-packs. You'll only be able to buy 1 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to bring up a little bit of light.
As it stands in New York, we're looking into flavor shots. I got to get back a hold of the New York Vapor Association, because I'm trying to get a hold of them just to clarify stuff like this so I can give people the right information. But as it stands right now, we're looking into flavor shots. DIY is still a readily available thing. So if you're somebody that already DIYs, please encourage others to learn from you, or to learn how to do that. Encourage people to go to places like Liquid Barn, which is legal and fine to do. Encourage people to go that route. Definitely encourage people to go out and pick up whatever e-liquid they can. Again, this is a 90-day temporary ban. 90 days, after 90 days, they have to renew this. They have to re-review it. They have to look at numbers. And at that 90-day point, there's a distinct possibility, if things don't go in their favor, which they probably will make some fucking reason for it not to go, in their favor or whatever, then menthol will be banned as well.
So there's a little bit of light that's happened this week that I kind of want to touch on too, because I feel like it's kind of been overlooked. It's been an amazing thing that I've been seeing all over Twitter, all over Facebook, is the VTA conference in DC this week.
I'm glad you brought that up, because if you didn't, I was.
VTA and FDA 4, man.
I am so proud to see all those people and say that I am friends with a lot of those people. People that I know on a personal level, to where I can put my trust to know that they are fighting for something that I am unfortunately unable to do. Unable to go over there and fight for something pretty much at the front lines. That if there's anything at the front lines, that is it. You're on their doorstep.
Yeah, you're on the hill. They were on Capitol Hill.
Literally today. Today was the first 2 days of the conference was a conference. They discussed everything. Today, everybody, the whole lot of 100+ people that were there today, they all went to Capitol Hill and they met with several politicians. One of my close friends has been chronicling it the whole time. I'm going to preface this one again with a love them or hate them. One of my personal friend spent some time with AOC and explained to her the disenfranchisement of this industry and what's going on in her home state. Whether or not he got her on board with our cause remains to be seen. But who knows? New York may just all of a sudden have her come out and be like, wait. This is some bullshit. You never know.
We might have our own Beau Lafarge or whatever.
Right.
Come out.
He spent some time meeting Kamala Harris from California. And so
yeah, I saw pictures from that. Yeah.
So did I. And that's the thing, like, who knows? They very well could have changed some minds today. The fact is that we have that going on, and that's already affecting change. At the same time, there are also lawsuits that are in the works because a lot of this stuff isn't technically legal, and there are oversteps of actual abilities. And as a result, there are going to be lawsuits that overturn this. Is this going to be too little too late for some people? Sure. Absolutely. Probably. I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
Because
absolutely,
the reason they're able to do this is because the way the state constitutions are written, depending on your state's constitution, if your Department of Health declares a statewide emergency, a health emergency, that grants the governor this little gray window of authority to institute basically whatever they want to do at that point.
It's a small glorified version of martial law.
Thing. Yeah, it's a temporary. They're allowed a temporary. Just fix it, governor. Fix it.
Right, and that's the
what
thing
they're allowed to do.
Is that when it gets to a court of law, that's where facts matter.
Right, and the issue, and what we'll see is we're going to see a state lose, and then we're going to learn from that, and then we're going to see a state win, and then you're going to see states that are going to implement it or federally implement it or whatever, that departments of health have to prove without a shadow of a doubt, with all information available, that there is truly a health emergency and what they are doing directly relates to that health emergency. Because right now that's just a gray area. Those details don't exist. Mm-hmm. Because prior to this, they used to use that for real health emergencies. So there was never a question. Oh, we have a measles outbreak? That's a health emergency.
Right.
We have Ebola? That's a health emergency. At that point, though, that's what this is for. Mm-hmm. So that way they don't have to necessarily wait around for a whole assembly and a whole Congress to sit down and deliberate and be sluggish and be old white men doing what old white men do. Then a governor can just act, at least temporarily, to solve a solution instead of waiting. And in theory, this is a good thing. Right now, it's not. This is a complete abuse of that power. And that's what people should be mad about. I think even more so than being mad about it being a vapor product or a vapor problem. This is now a freedoms problem. This is now a legislative loophole problem. This is now an abuse of powers problem.
Yes. And I agree. And that's something I was talking about earlier.
Who aren't smokers, who aren't vapors, who don't give a shit otherwise, look at what your governor is doing. What will they take from you next? Mm-hmm. Where will they abuse their power next? What is it that you love? What vice do you have that they will strip you of next?
you know, from a perspective of New York, didn't they strip you of your ability to have certain sugary beverages in certain sizes?
That I don't know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they put a ban on a certain size amount of beverage, so you couldn't have a soda in a certain size. I know.
I mean, we have 2 liters of soda.
Right, but I'm pretty sure you can't go get a fountain beverage, like a Biggie fucking monster fucking sized cup anymore, right? You can?
Yeah, you can go right down to the 7-Eleven.
Well, I mean,
The big
there are states that have banned that.
Absolutely. New York's not one.
Have a super large soda because, oh no, that's not healthy. It's one of those step-by-step processes where they take a little bit more and they take a little bit more. And I think that's the thing.
Here in New York, too, like a 12-year-old could walk into a store and go buy a Rockstar that has 300 plus milligrams of caffeine in it. He can go buy a 6-pack of them and fucking explode his heart, you know? That's not an issue. We don't need to address that. Don't worry about youths and their pulmonary issues with caffeine. We should worry about this problem, and we're going to bypass an entire legislative process and strip the rights from American tax-paying, law-abiding adults because we want to. That's what's wrong. That's the real bottom line is if you're really going to be really mad about something, be mad at this abuse of power. Exactly. Be mad at these people. We have a legislative process put in place, a system of checks and balances. I know everybody learned that term in 7th grade, but that's a very real thing. That's how our process works. So governors and people in power can't abuse their power like this. You know, this is literally our democracy on the line right now. Are we willing to just sit down and take it? Or are we going to hold our officials accountable?
Exactly. I hate to make this reference, but I think it's appropriate right now. And it's like the answer to 1984 is 1776. And for people who don't understand that reference, 1984, the book from George Orwell, where the government is literally controlling everybody's lives to the point of being able to persecute you for thinking about criminal acts. And the answer to preventing that is standing up for your rights. Our American Revolution in history class, as some of us may or may not remember, was about people saying, no, we want more than we deserve. And our country went, no. Britain, you can fuck that talk. Take that back or we're going to stand up. And we fought a goddamn war and created a whole country on a principle about people being free to do things that they feel makes them happy and harms no one. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be happier, healthier individuals. We're not harming anybody else. We're not even harming ourselves anymore to the dramatic extent that we were, because again, we're not safe, we're safer, and somehow we have to continually explain that 95% safe.
Yeah. No, dude, I hate even saying it anymore. I literally hate even saying it anymore because I've said it till I'm blue in the face.
My new technique with that, I'm glad you just said that, is to flip it. You know, God forbid that I should try not to use 95% more harmful tobacco products. You know, smoking cigarettes is only 95% more harmful than what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But that's none of my business.
Yeah, it's that's where I draw the line. You know, even prior to me ever vaping, I'm a freedoms guy. Don't tell me what I can and can't do with my own body if I'm not harming anyone else. It's my body. It's my life. It's my choice. I'll put whatever in it I fucking want to. I don't care about your arbitrary government and your bullshit ideas. It's my body. And I still feel that way today. I feel that way about all drugs. I feel that way about all harm reduction tools. I feel that way about everything. It's your body, it's your life, and it's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're not putting somebody else in harm for the choices you make.
Me, Logan, do you agree? Do you think people should be allowed to use heroin? Yes, I do. Then you can say whatever you want. You can feel however you want. My issue is if that person then becomes a detriment to society, a detriment to their families, they're harming people, they're stealing, they're robbing, they're doing all these other things. That's where we need to hold people accountable. But if Jim Bob wants to go home and he wants to shoot up on his couch and that's how he gets off and that's how he spends his time and he's not hurting anyone else and he's living his life how he wants to, I don't have an issue with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I mean, it's not my right. It's not my problem. It's
right.
Not. It doesn't affect me. It's not. That's his individual right. Who the fuck am I to tell Jim Bob that he can't go do what he wants to do, as long as he's not harming anyone else?
It falls to a principle of do as you will, may ye harm none. You want to fuck your whole life up, and it's just your life. That's fine, as long as you don't affect other people. Whatever, man.
You know, that's how I feel about it. And anybody can argue with me, and I totally get the other side. I really do. I get the other side. I'm not that close-minded, and I'm like, no, I get it. I get the concern. I get it. I understand. I've dealt with drug addiction. I've known, I don't know how many people who have gone through drug addiction. But I can tell you right now, what doesn't help drug addicts? Telling them that they should stop. Telling them that they're making a bad decision, telling them that they're fucking their life up, trying to drag them into rehabilitation centers, trying to force them to stop. It doesn't help a drug addict. You're not doing any good.
You're right. I mean, we
should be encouraging people to better their lives. We should be encouraging people to not do those things. We should be educating people of the harms of doing those things. But at the end of the day, it's nobody's fucking right to tell you what you can and can't do with your own body.
You're absolutely right.
That's the big picture with everything here, guys. That's what it comes down to. Right. Vaping is such a little bitty little mark on what's actually happening right now.
Yeah, this is just a symptom of a bigger picture.
This is a footnote on something that is way bigger than any of us.
And I think that's what we're hoping to impress on more people, and that we all as a group hope to impress on the general public, is that our little struggle right now is a microcosm of a bigger picture.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I'm not a big fan of Steven Crowder. I agree with some of the things he says, and I disagree with some of the things he said. But he had a video go out when all of this went down, as far as Trump and the federal ban goes, and he made a lot of good points. And he basically just said what I said. Like, nobody should be able to tell you what you're doing there. Like, he's a cigar smoker or whatever. He's not a vapor. He knows friends that vape. But he's like, he especially talked about conservatives and things like that. He basically came out and said, look, if you're for, closing small businesses, taking people's rights, all of this stuff, you're not a conservative. These are Steven Crowder's words. If you still feel like you're a conservative and you agree with that, whatever, you can have your own opinions. And he also said something that I think ran really true, that a lot of people really should take to heart, that if you are a conservative, you can still be a conservative and disagree with a Trump policy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just have to be a yes man. You don't just have to go along with it just to protect your party. You can still have a backbone. It's okay to have a backbone. You can still say, this is terrible policy, this is a bad idea, you have no right to do this. And I think the biggest thing there is that we should all take that to heart. You can affiliate yourself with whatever political party that you want to be a part of, and that's fine. But you should still disagree with policies you don't agree with. You should still be vocal about that. You should still have a backbone and say, no, I don't agree with this. Because that's what democracy is. That's what we have. That's America. We have the right. We have the right to call our politicians. We have the right to voice our opinions. We have the right to be involved in the legislative process directly because it's ours.
Mm-hmm. Government for the people, by the people. And that's the key, guys.
But we're all so scared. Everybody is so scared of the government now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, we're all complacent, and I'll give me my late night TV and give me my my comfy slippers and my iPad and my distractions, and I won't care, and feed me the scary news because I love scary news. Give me more scary news so I can stay inside and live in my bubble and get on my iPad and be okay and not have to worry about it and not care, and I'll just sit here while they take my rights and they take my money and they take everything from me because I'm scared and distracted. And that's just sad, man. That's what it comes down to. They've got us wrapped around their fingers,
Yep. And so many of us are still scared, even when we see it. And that's the craziest part.
And that's
why we're here.
I was scared. I was scared to go in there. I didn't want to be there. Nobody wants to go to these things. I didn't want to go. I had to go.
Yeah, you were doing your civic duty as an American, and participating in the legislative process.
For a minute that I wasn't scared at all, and that's okay. It's okay to be scared. We're human.
That's right.
That's okay.
That's right.
But you can't let that fear stop you from doing what's right.
And you know what the thing is I've always believed that fear comes from a place of love, right? The fear is about losing these things that we love. And so we feel like we can just, well, if I sit back and ignore it and let these guys do their thing, they'll hash it out somehow, and I'll adapt however I have to. You need to use that. You need to be able to take that and let it fuel you. Because whether you're an army of 1 or 101, the fact is that one voice is sometimes all it takes. You can be the person to catch someone's attention, and you might say the one thing that somebody else doesn't say in that group that actually sticks in someone's head. And sure, maybe that public health official ignores you that day, but 2 days later, they're sitting there playing their stupid game on their phone, and your words are still rattling in their brain, and they realize, son of a bitch, I get it now. We've all been there. We've all had somebody say something to us and kick a piece of knowledge at us that we took for granted, and then days later, it kept marinating in your brain, and all of a sudden you went, man, I get that. That makes sense. I mean, we were just talking about legalizing drugs, basically, because we believe that people should have that right. I didn't used to believe that. I used to completely be against that idea until the right person said it to me the right way. And then it made sense to me, and I went, holy shit, they're right. No government entity has that right.
We should treat all drugs like we do alcohol. Alcohol is not illegal. Yep. You have to be of age, and you can go drink freely. But if you commit crimes while under the influence of alcohol is a drug, under the influence of that drug, your penalties are that much more severe.
Exactly.
And I think that's where we should treat all drugs. That's it. Yep. It's just that a long time ago, old white guys decided that alcohol was okay and cocaine wasn't. A lot of them thought cocaine was still okay because, I mean, Christ, you know how many cities have been built on cocaine money? Look at Miami. Fuck.
Fact.
But that's where I look at drug policy. Like, we need harm reduction tools in place. We need places and facilities that offer help freely to people. And it just needs to, because, again, this goes back to black markets. We wouldn't have the fentanyl issue if heroin was legally regulated. Great. No. You used to be able to buy heroin in the Macy's catalog.
This is true.
I can show you You could buy heroin in the Macy's catalog. Or maybe it was Sears. It might have been Sears. It's one of the two. But that was a thing, you know. And then at one point, somebody was like, "Oh no, this is bad. We're gonna use a very slightly different version of it medically, but that kind is real bad."
Yep.
Because they saw an opportunity to make money of it, and they saw an opportunity to further oppress people. And that's where all drug prohibition comes from. Look at the majority of drugs on the market. Most of them, the illegal ones, are very slightly different versions of medical ones.
Mm-hmm.
The Tylenol you take is an amphetamine. It's a derivative of meth. It's right along the same category. The Adderall that you take is like one hydrogen molecule different from methamphetamine.
Yep.
That's what they do. They take the products that people use, that people were using recreationally anyway, and most of those people were using products for a very long time. I mean, look at opium. You know, go back to the coca leaves. Like, people were using these products and still do in their natural form. Then they synthesized it, or they processed it down, or whatever they made drugs from, and they made it illegal. But then they knew what those drugs had a potential for. They made the other ones completely illegal, made it a scheduled drug, modified it, and then profited from it. And then they control the access to the legal version, and you don't get access to the illegal version.
And you're criminalized.
And you're criminalized, and you're punished, and the private prison system benefits from you sitting in jail. And now the private prison system in Michigan will benefit from people having 4 Juul pods.
And that's the fucked up part, right? Is that like they saw it. They saw it coming because they knew not just Juul pods, but there are so many of these knockoff brands.
Oh, absolutely.
And so they knew. All right, well, cool. You know, Juul. Well, sure, they'll sell their 2-packs, but somebody's gonna order these 4-packs.
Let me give you a little perspective right now. If I went to Michigan holding this, I can be put in prison.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is they saying? Like up to
or
6 months?
Take one of those out of your hand and put any mod that you have on your table in your hand. Because that mod has an atomizer that will count, and they can justify that as a container because it holds liquid.
Yeah. That tank's containing e-liquid. It's an e-liquid container at this very moment.
Yeah. But here's the kicker. You could have 100 tobacco pods on you and not go to prison.
Yep.
You could have
500.
You can have like 12 cartons of fucking cigarettes in your trunk.
Right.
Oh no, he's just smoking.
They might get you for intent to sell at that point. Even with cigarettes, they do that shit.
Well, I mean, they did kill somebody for that.
Yeah. So I would be careful about having that many cartons of cigarettes in your trunk.
I still think I have an idea I posted on Twitter earlier today that I kind of thought was a good idea. Sending packs of cigarettes to Cuomo and saying, I thought you would like these. Here, just like mail him packs of cigarettes. Just imagine thousands and thousands of packages of cigarettes just showing up at his doorstep.
I just don't know
he'd love that because he'd know that some of that tobacco.
I don't know if we should give that money to the tobacco.
I'm saying he'd be like, "Oh shit! Look at all these tobacco tax dollars sitting on my table right now."
And I forgot who said it. Somebody tweeted back to me. It was like, "What if we just put all the ashes from the ashtrays inside of the envelope?"
Now there you go.
And I thought that was a good idea
with
as well.
that
Or the cigarette butts.
An address on that because they're gonna see fucking powdery substance inside an envelope, and now you're a terrorist. You fucking vape terrorist.
Fuck.
It's all a matter of those goddamn brain worms and your nicotine addiction. You fucking filthy heathen.
Okay, we're trying to find an equal here. If it was cigarettes, he'd like it too much because that means more cigarettes are being manufactured. That means more money he makes. And then if it was the ashes, the person sending it could possibly go to prison.
I've got one. We got to
find a medium.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
For all of you who like myself, like Poonsauce, maybe even Logan, all of you who have lost somebody to a smoking-related illness, maybe you should send a picture to Mr. Cuomo. Let them know that.
Unfortunately, Mr. Cuomo has basically, basically gotten people on the idea that vaping will lead to the same thing. So he'll probably just turn around and use those pictures to further justify what he's doing.
Hold on.
Valid point. Valid point. Look at this nicotine addict.
yeah.
I mean, it's funny because you said it earlier. It's like reefer madness, and I actually had said something to a buddy of mine because he's not as abreast of all of this stuff right now. So I was kind of getting him caught up to speed as to really what's going on in the whole world. And I was like, dude, it's basically the satanic panic and reefer madness rolled into one.
Yeah. And, and I think people, Swaggins, they would just use that little thing to erase everyone's memory. We would all forget about what vaping was.
Yes. Well, I mean, unless he means the other Men in Black, speaking of which I have no idea what those Men in Black do, but I understand through rumor and conjecture that they just kidnap people and they disappear. So
that's terrible.
That's just rumor and conjecture. I don't know, but I don't ever.
Are those the Men in Black that take everybody over to the Epstein Island? Is that those Men in Black? I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We're not going.
Yeah, that's for a different show.
That's for a different show.
That could be on an angry hippie show, maybe.
We'll talk.
Really fucked up shit.
We'll do an episode on Epstein because I have a lot to say on that too. On that road.
I got a buddy we could pull in. Holy smokes! We get.
Anyways, though, yeah, it's. I don't really know what the best way to send a message to Governor Cuomo is, other than we have numbers and we vote. I mean, that's it.
I think the biggest message we could send to him, it might be a long time. The best message we can send to him is when he's sitting there during re-election season realizing he was not re-elected. That's a message that could speak numbers. Mm-hmm. Knowing that us as a community came out and fought for something we believe in, and if you're in our way from doing something that we know is better for the community, better for public health, we're going to make sure your decisions are not going to impact what is trying to happen with public health by getting him out of office.
I think one of the biggest issues with Andrew Cuomo, and it drives me insane, is you have a number of different community issues that go on that overlap into this as well. Andrew Cuomo has long been known to be a champion for the LGBTQ community in New York. So if you have LGBTQ vapors right now in New York State, those people are very, very conflicted right now because they have someone that they've looked for in support in their lives who is now also against something in their lives. And I can't even begin to imagine how these people feel. Because Andrew Cuomo has been a champion for LGBTQ rights in New York. And that's one of the good things that he has done. And for those people right now, I can't imagine what they feel like, because now they've had their champion let them down in a different aspect of their lives. Like, that's going to be a community. Which way are these people going to vote now? Because they are part of this community. Vaping is all walks of life.
Absolutely.
A lot of us are single issue voters, and a lot of people are going to not be single issue voters. And there's a lot of conflicts there. And I don't know what the answer is for those people. And, at the same time, I feel bad for those people because they might lose their champion, and the next guy that comes in might be all for us and terrible for that community or terrible for another community.
Yep. It's a scary thought.
It's a sobering thought to think about.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, my girlfriend is a big supporter of LGBTQ rights and things like that. And so this one, we got talking about Cuomo and we got talking about all that, and it's just like she's somebody that's kind of torn on it right now, because she understands how much of a champion he's been in other communities and for things like that for people in New York. And now it's like, which virtue do I go with? Which, that's a tough call. I don't have an answer for people there.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any final thoughts for the viewers? Any final last words you want to tell everybody that you think people need to hear right now?
Don't give up. We're not done fighting here in New York. Yesterday was a sad day. It was a really sad day. And I talked to a lot of people afterwards, and it was okay. I was sad, and that's fine. I'm not sad anymore. Now I'm just pissed off. It's okay to feel let down and feel saddened and feel defeated, but you can't stay there. You can't stay in that set. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to be empathetic towards everybody here in New York or wherever you're at, and towards everybody else in the country, and that's fine, and it's okay. Be sad, get it out, get back up, because we're not done. We're far from done. We're not, vapor products are not leaving the shelves tomorrow. Our industry is not gone tomorrow. We have a long road ahead, so you got to pick yourself back up and get back into it with the rest of us, because we need everybody. We need everybody on board. We need you to not stop. Don't stop calling. Don't stop writing. Don't stop spreading the word. Don't stop advocating. Because people are still dying. Whether you're sad and sitting on your couch and feeling defeated or not, people are still dying.
Just think of this right now, guys. There is somebody right now dying of a smoke-related illness as we speak.
1,300 people a day.
Yep.
1,300 people a day that you maybe not directly could have gone out and helped and taken a cigarette out of their mouth. And, if somebody's about to die from smoking-related disease, popping a vape in their mouth is not going to help them at this point, obviously. But that's 1,300 people down the road that you could affect today, that you could help today, so that down the road, they aren't one of those 1,300
Think of
people.
that 55-year-old smoker right now who's been smoking for 20-plus years. Think of 10 years down the road. They're going to be possibly one of those people losing their life to this. And
we have the answer.
We have the answer. It's right in front of our face. It's right in front of everybody's face. It's time for us to get up and show people what that answer is. It may have to take a little bit of forcing down their throats to do it, but sometimes you got to do stuff in the time of war,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so get out there and show up. That's all I can tell people. A lot of people right now are feeling very, very, very discouraged about showing up because of what they saw happen in New York. I get it. Again, I was there. I saw it. But what I also saw was people standing up. Passionate people fighting for what they believe in, fighting for their rights, fighting for their families, fighting for people they don't even know. I saw news crews. I saw people listening to their stories. I saw people going by cheering while we were outside protesting. That's something else that I saw. You can't just focus on the negative bullshit that happened yesterday. Again, it's okay to be sad. I was sad. My heart was broken yesterday. That was yesterday.
Today's a new day.
Right.
Yeah.
Let that sadness...
I can stay there, or I can pick myself up, and I can keep moving forward.
Let that sadness turn into anger because we need to be angry, and let that anger turn into passion. Because we need people to be angry, and we need people to be passionate. Because nothing's going to get done if you're not doing those things. Nothing will get done. No, you're going to be sitting back at home if you're going to sit back being a home mopey, there's no reason for it. There isn't.
Yeah.
That's one battle and hundreds that are going to happen.
It's true.
If you think you're going to lose every single one of those battles, you need to have more confidence in yourself. You need to have more confidence in the people around you.
Yeah, we're not going to lose every battle. We
mean,
haven't lost every battle this whole way. There's a lot of fights that we've won. And we're going to keep winning. We have science on our side. And we have numbers. We're 13 million strong. We have 13 million people, and we've got the science. And if you look at every harm reduction policy in the history of the United States, they've all been fought tooth and nail. And guess what? Now they're standards. Now that's the way it is. Harm reduction policy is in place, but it gets fought tooth and nail every step of the way. We are too. We're going to get fought tooth and nail every step of the way. At the end of the day, when the dust settles, we're going to be on top. We're going to get kicked around. We're going to get beat up along the way. And we're not going to come out of this clean. But damn it, we're still going to win.
Absolutely.
That's pretty much all we got for you guys tonight,
My
guys.
final thoughts.
Yeah, man.
John, do you have anything?
I'm gonna wrap it up tonight like this, guys. I love all of you. I'm proud of you guys because I see a lot of people doing things that are putting them outside of their comfort zone. We have people going and getting on Twitter for the first time in their lives who never thought they'd be on Twitter. We have people going to public health meetings and speaking out for their very first time about anything politically ever in their lives. We have people who are starting shows on YouTube to continue this conversation with another crowd of people. I'm proud of all of you for having this motivation. We got to keep this motivation rolling. I say it all the time, each one teach one, and that is our goal. We need to continue to educate people because with knowledge we have that power. Like Logan just said, those facts are on our side. That being said, I want you guys to keep giving them hell every day. 2-3 phone calls, one phone call a week, whatever it is that you can muster up. I want you guys to keep giving them hell. Don't let these bastards get you down, because when we let them get us down, that's when they win. I want you to keep you cool. Don't be a dick, because when you're a dick, they have ammo against you. And beyond all that, keep your hope alive. Excuse me. We're doing this so that nobody else ever has to suffer through losing a loved one to smoking-related illnesses someday. We're hoping that one day, if somebody wants to consume nicotine, this will be the preferred method. We fight because we care. I'm going to close it with this last final thought. Grim Green said it yesterday during Tuesday Bro Tuesday. It hit home to me so hard because I've said it verbatim myself. People might look at you and say, well, vaping, that's a weird hill to die on. Well, look, man, I didn't choose the vape life. The vape life chose me. Let's keep fighting, guys.
Yeah, guys, it's a tough spot we're in, but it's not over, guys. I'm telling you, it's not close to being over. Do whatever you think is possible. Do what you think is right. Always have a positive outlook. Don't give up. Things will get better. Things will get worse before they will get better. It's a given. Things are going to get far worse than what they are now. But you cannot give up. I'm not giving up. Sean's not giving up. Logan's definitely not giving up. We're going to be
I'm not even close.
No, not even fucking
Giving
close.
up's not even on my radar, brother.
We're going to be doing what we can at the front lines, taking the gunfire from these officials, and we're going to continue to take this fire from them, but we're not going to stop. Because it's our right to fight for something we believe in. And me, Sean, and Logan, we're all doing this. So the people that are not have yet to find this in the situation, who are not in the situation to where they can, we're doing this for them. People who are not able to do what we're doing today, we're fighting for them. We're not just fighting for ourselves. Continue to fight for others. Continue to fight for everything you believe in. Do not let what anybody says get you down. Keep the positivity going. And guys, I can't say this more than enough. Do not give up. Giving up is not an option we can have right now. Make the phone calls. Make the emails. Get on Twitter. Twitter's fucking blowing up like crazy. Get on Twitter.
Can I just say that I am so fucking impressed with the people that have gotten on Twitter, with the people that have gotten into those conversations.
I'm one of them.
I have been trying to get people on Twitter for months.
I just got on there 2 days ago.
For months to get in and get a part of these conversations. And I'm so impressed and I'm so proud of people for finally getting on there. And again, I'll go back, I'll just say it one more time. Keep advocating everywhere. Don't stop doing what you're doing on Instagram. Don't think Instagram doesn't matter. Instagram matters. Facebook matters. Everywhere matters. But get on Twitter. Twitter is where your politicians are. Twitter is where your doctors are. Twitter is where your organizations are. That's where they are. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your hand checks. Get on Twitter. And join an advocacy group. I don't care what people say. People hate on advocacy groups all the time because they think they just take money and they don't do anything with it. We have won battles, countless battles, because of those dollars donated to advocacy groups, because people can afford to fly to these meetings day in and day out, because of people like Gregory Connolly, who goes across the country and back every fucking day. We are the people that enable him to be able to fight for us like that. Those dollars don't just go to somebody's pocket. Gregory Connolly doesn't have a mansion in the hills. He doesn't reap all these benefits. He uses that money to fundraise, to pay for people to advocate, to get lobbyists involved, to be where he needs to be, to pay for himself to be where he needs to be so he can eat and sleep where he needs to be to continue to fight for us. That's what your money goes to. And you don't need to give a lot. You don't even need to give. CASA is free. Join CASA. You can have a testimony. Those testimonies matter. Join an advocacy group. Most states, every state, I believe, has their own vapor association. Get a hold of them. Join that. Everybody needs to be involved. Everybody needs to be involved. And every little bit that you do does matter.
Every little bit you do now can be a milestone in the future. Think about
those
that.
Pennies add up quick, man.
That's it, man. We're not heroes for doing what we do. We're just average people, just like everybody else. We all get up every day. We go to work. We work our 9-to-5 job, whatever it might be. We come home and we fight this fight with you. We ask you to join us. That's all.
Let's do this as a team. Let's do this as a family. But most importantly, let's do this as a community. Because that is what matters.
Stop the little bullshit infighting. God damn it. Stop fighting with each other. We're all on the same fucking team. Put all your other politics and all your other bullshit aside. You can get back to that when we're all done with this. Because that's what it doesn't help us. Because especially if you're on Twitter. Because all you're doing is showing other people what, like, it's just discouraging when we see people just infighting on Twitter, especially in my threads, on my tweets. And as of recently, there's a lot of people that have been sharing my tweets. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. But keep the infighting out of my threads. I would greatly appreciate that because it doesn't help us at all. When people look through my threads, I want them to see empowered people. I want them to see encouraged people. I want them to see passionate people who are willing to fight for an industry they believe in, not people who want to bicker and fight and argue.
Because the more we do that, the more we're going to lose.
We just look ignorant, the more we just look like a childish industry. We just look like kids bickering. I'm not a child, and I'm not going to bicker with you.
We're here to do this as a team. We're here to be unified, and we're going to do this together, and we are going to win this together. I'm going to leave the show with that. I'd like to thank Sean again for being the awesome co-host that he is. Logan, I'd like to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences, sharing your thoughts. We got some great topics, and I got some great conversation, and we went deep, and yeah, we're going to continue to do that. We're not stopping.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be on.
No
I
problem,
appreciate you big time.
Again, guys, thank you again for watching.
Oh, and everybody, if you could do me a favor and just remind Sean to get his ass down to the post office, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, post office. Hey, Sean.
I'm just messing with you, man.
Sean.
I've got to just publicly put the guy on the spot. Logan really wanted me to have a full experience for my mouth to lung adventure, so he sent me a Berserker 1.5. I've spent some time with it. Still prefer my other tank. I do
He doesn't like it.
a return of it. But hey, that's the best part about vaping, right? Different strokes for different folks, guys. He likes that Berserker. I like my Amit. We don't fight about it.
It's okay because we can both agree that both are still better than smoking cigarettes.
Exactly where I was going to go with it. That's right. Well, neither one of us are on the stinky sticks, man.
Yeah. Instead of disagreeing and fighting, let's all just find something to agree on. How
See,
about that?
Sean,
Absolutely.
you got the Ohm Life Buck fucking seal of approval. Get your fucking ass to the post office.
Well, I'm glad that we had him on the show because we were able to have a discussion earlier before the show, and now I can bless that package a little bit better. So, hell yeah.
I have a feeling that package is going to be a little extra sticky, so wash your hands afterwards. So.
Well, I keep a whole box of latex gloves in the bedroom, so.
Oh,
No,
yeah. My man.
There you go. On that note, guys.
We're always working on cars in the bedroom.
Right. No, it's obviously for while I'm building and working with e-liquid and things like that.
Right.
Obviously, that's
your coils. You can't get any of those skin oils on them. You got to get them to
right.
Pretty.
I mean, we are on Poonsauce McNasty's channel right now.
We are.
So,
So on that note, guys.
On that note.
Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you all next week. Peace.
Fight to power.